All right. Hey, guys. Welcome. This is Grandmaster Eugene Perelshteyn starting our lesson here today. I'm going to wait for maybe 1 or 2 more minutes for everyone to join us as well. And let me kind of explain to you the theme of today's lecture. Today, we're going to be learning from Leela. This is the neural network chess engine, which, of course, was inspired by AlphaZero. And I think most of you know about AlphaZero chess revolution, but if not, this is maybe a good time to do a quick review. Do you guys know what happened in 2018 and what happened with the chess engine revolution? Who can tell me? As always, I prefer you to type in the chat. Who can tell me about AlphaZero? Maybe you've never even heard of AlphaZero before, so this would be a good quick summary for everyone. So yeah, please let me know in the chat. We're going to talk a little bit about the chess engine revolution, the power of the neural network chess engines, what they are, and how they work, and how does that compare to modern Stockfish and others. There's actually a big chess tournament going on right now with all these monster engines in the TC, what is it called? TCC League, which is like an online league. All right, see what people say. Vrayo, AlphaZero beat Stockfish. Yes. Charles, AlphaZero destroyed Stockfish. Yeah, TCC is the current one, Judd. Yeah, so for the most part, you guys are familiar, and we know that AlphaZero destroyed Stockfish, but who can tell me what is so special about AlphaZero that literally revolutionized the chess world and the chess engines? And who can explain to me what does it mean, a neural network engine? Maybe you guys have heard this concept before, and how does it compare to Stockfish? Yep, so a good summary there from Jed. It learned by playing millions of games against itself. Yeah, so let me kind of give you this brief overview. Simple chess engines, 2018 of that time, like Stockfish, we humans programmed their eval function, their evaluation function. We tell them, here is an example. You got an open file? Okay, somewhere in your evaluation, give yourself a nice little bonus. You got this pawn hanging there, that's not good. Somewhere in the eval, give that yourself minus for white, and stuff like that. So we humans gave the tools to the engine. Then Google came along, DeepMind, Google's company, and said, you know what? Well, let's start from scratch. Let's just give AlphaZero the rules of chess. It had no knowledge, that's right, Tori, of the game. And it learned by playing against itself. Not only did it learn by playing against itself, its eval function, right? We call it quote unquote neural network. We don't know how it looks like. We just know that it's out there somewhere and it just knows how to evaluate positions. And guess what? That worked like a charm. AlphaZero came along, crushed Stockfish in the big match. Although that match was not public and it was Stockfish 8. So a lot of people asked questions, how accurate was the match and all this other stuff. But then Leela came along. Leela is open source. You can download Leela. You can see how people wrote it. And this is now 2020. Leela is playing the big match, right, in this computer world championship against Stockfish. At that point in 2020, I believe Stockfish was already quite even better than Stockfish 8. This was probably Stockfish 10 or so. And same thing happened again. Maybe not as bad of a score, but Leela won this match. And I've selected 10 games for our lesson here today to learn from Leela how it evaluates positions. Okay, so that's the goal. Now, Stockfish calculates really, really well, really, really deep. But no matter how well you calculate, at some point, you have to stop and give an eval. Now, jumping ahead, after Stockfish got totally destroyed by Leela in the match, and then in subsequent matches, Stockfish programmers adopted this neural network evaluation function and completely abandoned its own human eval function. So now modern Stockfish 14, it's just as good, if not better, right? So it still remained all its calculation power, and the eval is just as good as Leela. And therefore, I believe Stockfish is the best engine in the world. And right now, you can see that it has been winning again, right, back-to-back championships. Very difficult to beat it. Anyway, so but this Stockfish we're talking about is neural network Stockfish, which gives us a really nice idea how one engine can dominate another. All right, so let's jump to this game, to this position rather. So here, Black plays the move c6. Okay, very simple move, basically creating this wall against the bishop on g2. b7 pawn is now protected by the queen. e6 pawn is doomed. Eval plus move. So that's my question for everyone. So please write it in the chat. And we will talk a little bit about the position. So white to move, how would you play here if you're white? Things are not looking that great for white. I mean, this e6 pawn is in bad shape, don't you guys think? Yet, Leela, absolutely not afraid. Yep, Rayo, correct. Good job. Beautiful. Austin. Yeah, Austin, good job. Okay. Roger, good job. Be aggressive, guys. Be aggressive. Yes, most of you are now looking in the right direction. I think most of you now are getting the main idea. The move here is a very simple long-term piece sacrifice, knight d5. Do you really need to calculate this out? The answer is no. Why no? Well, because if you don't play this move knight d5 and you lose this e6 pawn, things are not looking that great for white. Maybe white's still a little bit better, but this is simply unbelievable idea. Okay, Black has to take the knight. C takes d. If you don't take the knight, queen takes e6, then knight c7 is a fork. And now this is the kind of position that we stop and we evaluate. We just give an eval. White has full compensation because the bishop is locked in. Look at this beautiful pawn chain. Now, it may not be obvious to you. You can still be like, well, I'm a piece down. I don't know. But you know what? You are not Stockfish, right? You're not going to use your, calculate millions of positions per second, 20 moves deep or even more. There's no need to. You look at this position, you realize he can't easily break this pawn chain. You can activate the bishop, maybe bishop d2, b4. Maybe you can play for c5. And in the game, e4 was played. Yeah, if you take on e6 with the bishop, then b7 pawn is going to fall. So e4 was played, and simply bishop f1, solidifying the position. Maybe the idea is after c5 later to activate the bishop, overprotecting the c pawn. And there's really no attack. Bishop could get rerouted to e2. And good question there from Austin. Can Black maybe use these pawns to get counterplay? Honestly, I don't think so. To get counterplay, you would have to do something like this. Your own king gets exposed, but more importantly, you're playing down an entire rook and the bishop, meaning that it's much easier for White's forces to get shifted to the king side. I think White is clearly better. And of course, if you put this position on modern engines, modern Stockfish, it's going to laugh and say, White is clearly better, plus over minus. All right, so this is good kind of long-term piece sacrifice. Let's look at another position. All right, here we got to get another position. Leela is playing white. This is from 2019, so this is a year before, also a super final tournament, season 15. And again, Stockfish, I think is Stockfish, maybe even 10 or 11. I don't remember which Stockfish, but okay, pretty good version of Stockfish. Rated 3587. Okay, that's astronomical rating. But Leela plays very simple chess here to get a pretty nice advantage. So let's see if you can figure out. So why to move here? Very easy move if you're human. Not an easy move if you're an engine, by the way. But for human, for me, this move is very natural. Okay, let's see who else is saying things. Okay, Rayo's suggested an interesting idea. Good job. Okay, let's see if anybody else. King G2, maybe. I don't think King G2 is a bad move, but there's a much more concrete idea. Eric, good job. Austin, very good. So I think for the most part, we're getting there. Joshua, okay, not bad. So you guys are, for the most part, getting to the key point here. It is absolutely correct. Simply sack the rook. This knight on d4 is really annoying. Right. And black is left with a horrible, horrible position. I love the next move as well. The follow-up is really beautiful. f4. Black is completely paralyzed. But it took about 100 moves to convert, because obviously Stockfish is going to put the best possible defense. But as a human, if you study games by Petrosian, and you guys have had many lectures by top coaches showing you the great Petrosian exchange sacrifice, for a lot of you, this is relatively easy. You've got the monster knight, very nice pawn structure. The king is quite safe. Black can get the A file, but so what? Black cannot get the C file because of the bishop. You got this outpost just in case this pawn is under attack, and black's king and the bishop are totally useless. Again, pure eval. No need to calculate anything. White has long-term advantage. Yeah, and black's pawns are just garbage. That's right, Austin. So you see two examples of human-like sacrifices, right? Long-term sacrifices. So this is very, very important, that out of all the chess styles that Leela picked up, Leela is playing very positional, like Petrosian, these long-term sacrifices. All right, let's take a look what happens next. All right, here we have a position from some King's Indian battle where everything is locked up. Yet, white needs to show progress. Okay, so you're playing white here, and you're Leela. How would you show some progress here? Okay, good job, Jed. Okay, see, some people are getting these ideas pretty good. Yep, Roger, very good. Yep, you guys are correct. Aradia, yep. Joshua, good job. All right, so you see, you guys are on the roll here. Very typical idea for the most part. Let's give people another minute or so. Oh yeah, Ryo, make sure that you put it in private so that you don't give anybody hints. Yep, Eric, good job. Yep, Owen in the right track. All right, so you guys are getting the good hang of it. I like it. You're thinking like Petrosian again, and this is the right approach. Rook c6, simple enough idea. We've seen it before in many types of similar structure. You've got the rook protected by the pawns, and you got the major pawn chain going, right? If bishop takes c6. I don't even know which way the B takes or D takes. They both look pretty promising. Maybe d takes is better, so you can play bishop c4. I don't know. To me, both look very promising. In the game, though, knight a8 was played. That is pretty pathetic. Although I can understand Stockfish. It basically doesn't have any, doesn't have any good moves. So it basically just like says, I'm just going to stand and hope for the best, create a fortress. Knight c3, regrouping. King g7, waiting. Knight c4, bishop e8, bishop h3. And I don't want to bore you with details. White eventually broke through, probably another 100 moves or so. But this is total domination. And it all starts with the move rook c6. Now, some people may not even consider a move like this because you feel like, well, why do I need to give up material? But again, this is a classic way to try to break through Black's position. All right, so far so good. Now let's switch things up. This is totally different than your typical exchange sacrifice and long-term peace sacrifice. This is just more about long-term things. Okay, this is long-term things, learn-term rather thought process here. Now, when I first saw this position, this is again 2019 Super Final, I clearly remember the eval. Stockfish gave white an advantage. If I remember, the advantage was like 0.4, 0.5. And then Leela actually, normally you would think, okay, well, one side is clearly better. And Leela gave a completely different eval. And who is correct? So what do you guys think? Who is better and why? Maybe you can try to give an eval either in engine number or in a human, like plus equal type of thing, plus over minus or equal, and etc. So again, this is black to move, but it doesn't really matter because move it is, let's just say it's black to move. Who is better and why? This is very difficult, and you have to use better judgment. The previous positions were too easy. This does show black to move. Yeah, it is black's turn. Okay. But again, I'm not looking for a move. I'm looking for an eval. Okay, just give me an eval. It's black to move. Interesting. Austin says, I would enjoy playing this from both sides. Okay, why not? If you love maneuvering, but we're trying to get an objective eval here, okay? So one side is definitely clearly better, but we're trying to figure out by how much and which side. That's kind of the goal here. Okay, without knowing the engine eval, I'd say it's unclear. So equal in human game. Okay, you can say equal or balanced, right? You can say balanced as an eval. Okay, Jed says, Black's bishop is completely caged, so white should play on the queen side. Oh, +3. Okay, I don't know about +3, but okay. I like white more in this position, Owen. Basically, what I'm reading a lot is this bishop is basically dead, therefore white's better. This is one kind of view in this position. Aditya, white's winning. Aha, so another interesting idea. This pawn is blockaded. You got a protected passer. White's clearly better. All right, so again. Okay, Ryo, black. I think it's equal in human terms. White's +1. Minus plus, says Ryo. Wow. So you guys are just like Stockfish and Leela. You can't agree on your eval, right? One side is saying white is completely winning. Some of you are saying black is even better. Nobody has a clue what's going on. Okay, I got it right. So minus over plus. Okay, so black is clearly better. Okay, that's what you're saying. Okay, got it. So you see, guys, even among yourselves, some would take white, and some may even take black. So that means there is no consensus here. This is really interesting position, right? How both the engines could not agree, Stockfish and Leela, and now you guys are not quite sure what's going on. Okay, Angela prefers white, space. Okay, so based on my kind of quick recap here, it seems that the majority of the people prefer white, and their argument is such: black has a terrible bishop, white can easily blockade this pawn, white has protected passer, white has more space. All of these things add up to white clearly have an advantage. Right? Is that what I'm reading from people? Correct? Correct me if I'm wrong. So that's kind of the general sense I'm getting from people. Well, guess what? The answer is black is better. And those who said white is clearly better or winning are just as wrong as Stockfish. Completely wrong. Shocking, isn't that? And it's not really about this f3 and rook f4, even though in some lines of King's Indian, this idea. This is actually something about more long term. How much better? I'd say black is equals plus better. So like minus 0.4, maybe more. Okay, and now let me explain to you why I think so. It has nothing to do with the bishop being stuck. It has nothing to do with the passer or the pawn being blocked. It has to do with who has pawn breaks and who doesn't, right? The thing about this position is that white has zero attack. Black's king is completely safe. In the game, white's going to castle queenside. And that's what happened. I'll show you. Black played knight d7. Rook g1 was played, trying to, again, overprotect over here, just in case knight f6 happens. Black played bishop f6, knight d2, queen f7. It actually, g4 is a tiny weakness, but it's not the main problem. I'll show you exactly what black is doing. First part, black is solving the problem of the bad bishop. White finally castled, bishop d8. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this position. White's king is much less safer than black's king. This king is completely safe. This pawn is going to act as a shield. The king can just hang out there and laugh in white's face, right? Now, remember, whenever there's opposite castling involved, if you can attack your opponent, we actually talked about this many times, and your opponent can't attack you back, you basically have a strategically won game. Black has all the time in the world to set up this a6, b5 break. And there's not much white can do about it. And that's why black is clearly better. So this protected pawn on f4, this protected pawn on h5, this slight weakness here, the bishop that's getting there, it's all minor compared to the long-term goals. This guy is totally safe. We have the board full of pieces, and a6, b5 cannot be stopped. That's it. That's really the assessment. Black has long-term advantage. Now, it's not going to be easy, of course, to win the game, right? I mean, it took 82 moves for Leela to win this game. But the key is, again, eval. When you reach this position from, let's say, move 20, it's very natural to think white is clearly better, even to me, without going into details. I also look at this bishop. I look at this pawn. Looks like we have more space. White's probably better. But this is trickery, right? We get tricked by these things that are actually not as important as king safety. Castling here is suicidal because the g pawn is too weak. Leaving the king on e1 still allows a6, b5. Black will open up the game. Playing a4 will weaken the b4 outpost, and there's still a6, b5 long-term possibility. I simply don't see how white can stop a6, b5 long-term. Now, black has all the time in the world because the position is closed, as I showed you this really amazing idea to get the bishop to a5. All right, Austin's asking, what about trying to play knight h4, f5? Wait, knight h4? Oh, and then g5? Maybe, but I don't know. That's an extra piece, right? You don't even get a single pawn for it. So if you can make it work, sure. Maybe in the practical game, in the blitz game, it may even work, especially if black is too focused on checkmating on this side of the board. But in reality, though, especially when it's engine, right, black will probably find ways to defend. Against humans, yes. I would probably say against humans, this is the right idea. Pawn takes and then g5. But again, just because you have 2 pawns on g5 and h5, it doesn't really mean that you already won the game, right? You still have to open up files. And yes, you will play g6 or h6. And black may even sack the piece back, right, for one of the pawns. But this is definitely a very interesting plan. I like it. So if I'm white, I'm also thinking about how do I get any kind of life? I don't want to just sit back and wait for a6, b5. So yeah, very cool position, right, guys? This position really impressed me. And this is the first time I realized the power of neural network engine, specifically Leela over Stockfish, because it's a pure eval. There's no calculation required. This was, I think, some King's Indian, some crazy King's Indian. You can probably find this game from, because all of these games are publicly available. Okay, so let's move on. Here's another one. This one really impressed me because, again, Leela's decision here, to me, does not strike me as human. But once I understand it, then it sort of becomes very natural. Okay, so this is a little bit more challenging, like the previous one. You have to not only come up with an eval, you have to come up with a move. So here it's very important to come up with a plan, move and plan. Now, I'm sure most of you have not seen this example, so this may be quite refreshing. There's only one version, Evan, of Leela. It's only neural network, right? Stockfish actually has 2 versions. The one that's playing in 2020 is classical, although the modern Stockfish is also neural network. So make sure you guys remember, Stockfish made a huge switch. Its eval function became neural network function, okay? As a result, Stockfish improved dramatically. That's why in all of these modern World Chess Championship engines, Stockfish usually dominates Leela because it calculates deeper, more accurately, and its eval is very similar. What is Euronet? I don't know what Euronet you're talking about. There is a neural network. Okay. Aradia, white should be better. Okay, very good. I like your thought process. Yeah, white is clearly better, but we're trying to come up with a plan. I think most of us would agree white's clearly better. I mean, just look at this pathetic bishop. But, you still have to make moves for white. How do you prove you're better? This knight may start getting jumpy at some point and stuff. You have to watch out for some rook, maybe rook f4 and some sack. I don't know. It's not like you have an easy advantage. You have to come up with a move or a plan. And Leela does it wonderfully. I really love it. Actually will get a big, like almost winning advantage. It's just a matter of 5 moves from this position. Okay, so I think Austin picked up a very important thing. He says black can't easily shift the defender to the king side. So you see how this pawn sort of breaks the two halves, the queen side and the king side. It's not easy to do that shift. So I want you to continue with that thought process. Continue, guys, with that thought process, that it's not easy for black to shift his pieces to the king side. Okay, so kingside attack should be in the back of your mind, yes. So thinking about kingside attack, how though? How to organize your kingside attack? That's the key question. People suggested bishop f1. Okay, not a bad move, but it doesn't really execute, let's put it that way, the main idea of Leela. Yeah, everybody knows about the H pawn storm, right, guys? This H5, H6. Although in this specific case, H5 is not what Leela played, although a good idea. It's a little bit more concrete. I'll give you a hint. The move is very concrete. Not slow moves like bishop f1 and h5. So why don't you think a little bit about more? Also, unusual idea, I have to say. Move that doesn't really occur to you right away. Evan says b3. B3 is not very concrete. Queen c2, knight g5. Okay, we're thinking in the right direction, but queen c2, there's knight b4 as well. Bishop g5, concrete, but it doesn't really do much. Yes, you're guessing correct, Jed, but give me some moves. Give me a line. This is tough for you guys. I found a position that's not easy. Okay, yeah, not bad, not bad. Okay, so some of you are finally getting the main idea. Let me give you a couple minutes more. Very unusual move, I have to say, but the concept is really cool. Yeah, I agree with Austin. The pawn storm is a little slow for white. I don't know, right? You're getting a little ambitious there with the queen sack. You don't have to sack your queen. Can you improve on that line? And also knight h2, knight g4 is too slow. Remember, I gave you this big kind of hint when I said concrete, think concretely. There's specific idea that's hidden in this position. Okay, I'll give you the first move. The first move may shock you. We're going to give up our beautiful bishop for this stupid looking knight that's pinned on d6. Boom, bishop takes d6. Unusual decision. Not only are we giving up that bishop for the knight, which is pinned, we're also giving up a bishop pair. But there is a key follow-up. This follow-up is very important. Let's see if you guys can figure out the follow-up. Yeah, some of you said knight b5 and knight e4. Knight e4 is much better because, again, the key is you want to get closer to the king, not away from the king. Yep, that's the follow-up. And now we realize one important thing. All of these guys, 1, 2, 3, are kind of useless when the attack is happening against the king. Important to note, in the game, bishop f8 was played, but important to know that rook b4 is simply met by queen c2, which is actually guiding our queen to hit that pawn. So the bishop is still under attack, and this king is going to get... Yeah, black's pieces are totally paralyzed. That's right. All right, so in the game, bishop went to f8 as predicted. Bishop needs to protect the king. Now what? Why don't you finish your thought process, guys? Bishop takes, knight e4, bishop f8. Now is the move that really seals the deal, that makes white's advantage unequivocally big. There's no doubt about white's advantage after white's next move. Yep, most of you are getting this correct. Of course, simple chess. This pawn cuts the board into two halves even more. Now things are clear. We have 1, 2, 3, potentially 4 attackers. Maybe this pawn can even help. Only 1, 2 defenders, the queen and that bishop. The rook can't really help. This bishop can't help. The knight can't help. So overwhelming attacking position. But I want to show you a little bit more. In the game, black stops knight g5 with h6. The attack is extremely instructive. Okay, so first, rook e1. Why not throw the rook closer? You have all the time in the world. Who cares about this b2 pawn, right? You have 1, 2, 3 pieces that are worth a lot, are totally useless. Rook b6 was played. Okay, what's the big deal? d6 pawn is under attack. You simply play queen c4. We are eyeing the price, right? This is the f7 pawn. So black took, and now the finishing touch. Knight f g5. And now black is completely lost. There is no defense. It's unstoppable attack. Stockfish took. How did Stockfish let this happen? I don't know. I think it's an eval issue, right, Roger? It misevaluated some positions earlier, and now it's basically unstoppable attack. So the game continued. Queen f8. By now, you already know the finish. Well, why don't you guess the next move? Yep, Eric is correct. Yeah, Josh, correct. Queen e4, maybe g6. Maybe it's also winning. Yeah, the simplest is, of course, take on f7. Right, there is bishop d5 coming. Well, I mean, time to resign. Stockfish plays on, of course, and puts up some defense, and eventually loses again, probably another 30 to 40 moves later. And this bishop actually never got out. So again, let's get back and try to understand what happened. Think outside the box. That's the first lesson. How many of you would even consider giving up that bishop? Probably not a lot. But this is very concrete, right? You kick the bishop back, d6. Now everything is crystal clear. You have more attacking pieces than your opponent defending. All right, let's move on. This one is, yeah, if somebody tells you there's a special move, you'll figure out. This one is a typical French, right, with opposite castling. And most of you, I think, will guess White's first move of the attack. I mean, there's not a single person who would not play this move in blitz or even bullet. So I'll give you some time, but I'm expecting everyone to guess the first move correctly here. Yep. Right? How could you not play this next move on autopilot? F5 is obvious. Plus over minus I gave as in my eval, but it gets better. It gets better. B5. Okay, black is looking for counterplay. This may get pretty sharp after B4, C3. Now you have to be very, very fast. So the next move is also rather obvious. And I'm already seeing everyone is answering it perfectly. You guys are rocking today. Yes, F6. Typical blitz bullet move, right? No need to calculate. But it's setting you up to find the next move. That's going to be tough. Now, I bet you not a single one of you will guess the next move. Not a single person, unless your name is Mikhail Tal. Okay, let's see what people are going to say. A3, nope. Knight G5, nope. A4, nope. Bishop G5, nope. I'm just reading the answers. something to 3, no. Queen d3, no. b4, no. Yeah, you can you can just type any literally no knight d5, no queen e1, no, 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 and no. So far, 0 guesses, and I'm looking at like 20 moves already in the chat. Nope, 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 and nope. Wow, you guys are really, you can't even guess the right move. How crazy is this? Nope, nope, and nope. No, no, no one guessed it yet. And my chat is like scrolling like crazy. I can barely keep up. So the idea is to transfer the queen. Obviously, we need the queen to the king side. But the natural moves to us humans are queen e1, queen f2, which I've seen people type. That's not the move. It's this move, queen e2, which is a double exclam. No one guessed this one. Evan got it. Okay, Evan got it. Good job. Owen got it. Okay, I missed it, Owen. Sorry. Yeah, this is absolutely mad move. First of all, explain to me why you're blocking the bishop. Second of all, why you're putting your queen in front. You know, there's a knight there. You're also putting your queen in front of this bishop that may get exposed. What on earth is this? It's actually rather easy, guys. The plan is unstoppable, completely unstoppable. b4, you ignore everything. You ignore the fact your knight's under attack. You have a direct attack against it. That's why I said Mikhail Tal was the key word, right? So, okay, by now everyone already knows what the next move is. Of course, it's knight g5. And now things are crystal clear. Queen is coming to h5. That means you have to take, at some point, pawn will take, and we're going to deliver basic checkmate on h7, game over, lights out. That's Leela, guys. Leela is not kidding around with its attacks. So the other thing that we learn from neural network engines like Leela is they don't usually calculate, right, as deep as Stockfish, but their attacks are insane because they sort of throw the pieces in at Black's king and know that there's no defense, right? So this is a clear example of that attack. So, okay, Black took the knight, says prove it, hg. So now there's a big threat looming in the air, basic checkmate. Bishop takes g5 is forced. Okay, now we have to be a little careful, right? If you start with queen h5, bishop takes e3 check, and Black can play h6. So you can spoil all the fun with queen h5 here, guys. Don't spoil the fun. Find the best move. Queen g4 is not bad, but maybe Black can play what? Maybe f6. f6 you can play ef. Yeah, queen g4 is not bad. Well, rook h7 is what it played. Much simpler than queen g4. That queen g4 may require some more calculation. Here, the king is completely opened up, totally opened up. And the mate is unstoppable. So queen e7 is played. So let's talk a little bit about others. So first of all, king takes h7 check, and we pick up the bishop. It's game over. Second of all, bishop takes, queen takes, king takes. What is happening, guys? Check, takes, check. And I think it's mate, right? King g6 probably. Well, it doesn't really matter. King g7 is basically mate here. If king g6, I guess there is more than one way to finish the game. What is the simplest? Let's think. Queen h6, queen g3. Be careful of queen g3, queen g5. Check here. Maybe just bring the rook over. So either rook h5 or rook f1. g4 is not bad. Yeah, so there's more than one way to finish the game because queen and rook is basically going to set up the mate. Yep, so rook h5, though, you have to be a little careful. Rook h5, there is king g4. No, I think g4 or rook f1 should do the trick. All right, so finally, Stockfish said, okay, enough is enough. I'm going to play queen e7 here. I'm going to take and give up the queen f6. Well, I mean, if you don't play queen f6, how are you going to stop this mate? And queen h7 next. And eventually, of course, white converted after this, here. Black is going to win the rook, but white wins here. And okay, even if you take on c3, there's queen g5 check. So, wow, this is really shocking. So let's go back and review it one more time. So the first two moves are, I think everyone's going to play either in blitz or bullet 2, f6, but this queen e2, knight g5, and just direct is just game over. Yeah. Pretty cool stuff, right? Amazing attack. Amazing attack. Now we're more about slightly different thought process, a little bit defensive thought process. We are playing white, well, Leela is playing white, and somebody is not respecting us. How many of you guys seen this caveman style attack against white? I've seen it myself. It's not pretty. A lot of times white can easily get mated. Leela is not concerned. Yeah. Leela is not concerned though. We need a way out of this, right? We know what black is trying to do, caveman attack. This is absolutely beautiful way. Not only does Leela stop black's attack, Leela actually will stop black's attack in such a way that it's going to attack black and win easily. Yeah, I don't trust these attacks either, Austin. That's a good point. Like, this is too much caveman style for me. You're not developed. This knight looks a little funky. So all of this is slightly suspicious, but we need to prove it. We need to prove it. We need to make a move. So it's white's turn. What did Leela do here? The answer is do not be afraid. That's the first answer. b4 exclam. The point is to play b5 and knight e5. That's the first threat. b4 is absolutely correct. Don't be afraid. So if h4, notice this intermezzo and this one, and that's it. Black's in big trouble. Once we get that bishop on g4, then we can either trade queens and just convert. All right, so the obvious move on everybody's mind, what if they just take on f3? So here's my question for everyone. What's your autopilot reply? Let's say you're playing a blitz game. What's your autopilot reply here? Bishop takes or ef? Okay, some people say ef, some people say bishop. We take ef now, not bishop takes. Okay, at least I like how you guys are thinking. That's right, ef is so much better. Bishop f3 is also, I would say an advantage, but it's not that easy. But ef is the trick. And the point is all of these pawns completely stop any even hint of black's attack. And remember what we learned? It's not really about open files or anything else. It's not about locking your bishop. It's about making your king safe. Your opponent cannot have that luxury. The attack is happening whether black likes it or not. So h4 is played, rook e1, inviting black and asking black a question. Yes. So you can take here, my friend, and then what's next? You can even do this, and then what's next? I can go back, or even h1. f1 is probably better. That's it. Pretty much the attack has stopped. White can do whatever he wants. So Leela, after e6, what did Leela? I think Leela just ended up getting that knight to b3 and eventually won a nice game later on. So I don't want to bore you with details of white's attack. All I want to show you is when somebody does this caveman style attack, don't be alarmed. Leela showed the way. b4 takes ef. Ef is the unusual move. rook e1, and then Leela just laughs at Stockfish and says, so what? Yep. These types of caveman attacks simply don't work, and you need to be confident enough to punish them. Okay, let's move on. Okay, for a change, let's talk about endgames. Here we have, again, white. Leela is white here. It's an endgame. And why did Stock play the bad attack? Well, I think it's an eval thing, right? You know, Stockfish did not eval that position correctly. But let's focus about this position. So clearly black has a very specific idea in mind. So I'm going to give you a hint. Approach this position from the black point of view first. What is black trying to achieve? And only then will you be able to figure out white's next move. So what is black trying to achieve here? And how can white stop it? Yeah, Joshua, spot on. Good job. Well, black is trying to develop his pieces, but in which way? Wow, Ryo's on fire. Good job, Ryo. Bishop h6. I'm not so sure if bishop h6 is such a big deal. The typical idea here for black, by the way, is this bishop g6 move to trade the bishops. E5 is also a possibility. One move stops both in their track. And the move that Leela plays is quite unusual, but it's very good. F4. If you said F4, you are very strong. Pat yourself on the back for getting this right. And surprisingly enough, with simple prophylactic, again, Leela is playing human-like moves. Simple prophylactic moves, we're going to get ourselves a very simple advantage. So, for example, E6 is played. Guess what? Bishop G6 is really annoying. What do we do, guys? What do we do? Quick move. We need a quick move. Autopilot move, of course. Stop the threat in its tracks. We're inviting Stockfish to have a little bit of a triple pawns going on here. Not everybody's cup of tea, right? So Stockfish plays knight a6 instead, inviting us to take this knight. What are you going to play now, guys? Don't take your prophylactic hats off just yet. Guess white's next move. Okay, you're mostly thinking in the right direction. C3 or A3. I want this bishop to be mobile. I don't want to lock the bishop. Yes, C3 allows B6. A3 is what Stockfish played. Leela played. Stockfish played B6, simply bishop C3. Black tried to get the knight into the game. Knight E2. This is a huge annoying threat. And H3. So it takes. And here we can stop and safely give white plus equals. Two bishops, right? Long-term prospects. Excellent play, plus equal. So eventually on move like 81, Leela converted. So this is simply unbelievable. Human-like chess, right? We stop with every move our opponent's threat. A3, and that's it. Knight E2. Leela makes it look easy, don't you guys agree? I want to play like that too. But all of Leela's moves are very human. It's very easy for us to understand. And that's why we love to learn from neural network engines, because we can understand them. So now the hardest position of them all. I think it's one of the hardest. I've been building you up for this one. Why to play? What would you play here and why? And you kind of really have to really go outside that box thought process, because I kind of know what most of you will play here for white, but trust me, that's not the move. But okay, I'm not going to give you that many hints yet. Let's see if you can figure it out. Without doubt, white's better, right? So we kind of agree with that. But the move and the thought process and the plan that Leela executes here is absolutely phenomenal, spectacular. I would not have thought about it myself. Now that I know this idea, maybe I'll play it myself. So what's the move and why? There's a little bit of prophylaxis involved with this move, I have to say, but it's not quite. It's just a completely different conceptual thought process. Wow, Joshua's on fire. Good job, Joshua. I thought nobody would guess this move. Explain to me why you thought like that. Carlos, good job too. But explain to me why. Yeah, not bad thought process there. I like it. So I am guessing 99.9% of players will play on autopilot castles, and you'll be mostly correct. White still maintains an advantage. But let me explain to you why castle is not the best move. Okay, now I kind of leaked the answer, but I'll explain to you why the answer is correct. The problem is you're castling on the side where black has the pawn majority. Okay, when it's not that easy for white to generate counterplay. So this long term, right, this kind of stuff is something that you have to deal with. Your king is not well placed on g1. So king f1 is also wrong. The king belongs on the queen side. That's the correct thought process. Once you got to that point, only then will you try to guess, is it h4? Is it g4? And the correct move is g4. Absolutely mind-boggling thought process. The point is you're stopping f5 forever. This e4 pawn sack is not going to matter that much. And I think the problem with h4 is knight b4, let's say bishop b1 and some e4 sack. So pawn on g4 is much better place to stop this idea. So this is the point. But let me show you what happened in the game. Knight f8, simply bishop d2. We're just going to castle. Bishop h4, a3, just to not even calculate knight b4. Why not? Rook b8, inviting us to take, but of course Leela knows best. Simply castles with a big advantage. We're going to go boom, boom, hide the king there, unstoppable attack, long term against the enemy king. And this is plus over minus advantage. Absolutely spectacular chess. Good job, guys. All right, so now the last position of today. This is a Nimzo, as you probably guessed from this pawn formation, and it's black's turn. Since we've been solving some of black positions from the black point of view with the white on the bottom, let's just leave it as is so people are used to white being on the bottom. I'm not going to flip the board, although I could flip the board if you want. So what did you guess Leela played here? And it's a very standard move. I would say this is a very human idea, but a lot of people don't really get it or understand it. So let's see what you tell me in the chat. It's white's, not white's, it's black's turn. Yeah, sorry if I confused everyone. Actually, let me just flip the board so you don't get confused. So it's black's turn. Okay, so let's see what Leela played here. Well, if you play e4, you're kind of exposing this guy a little bit. So I think it's a slightly risky. Although e4, I've seen this idea before. Wait, b5? Are you really serious? You want to play b5? Open up the game and the king when he has two bishops. And he's got this. You want to keep the game static and closed. So the hint is guess what you want to do with your king. That's the big hint. Do you want to put the king in this direction Or do you want to put the king in that direction? That's right, Austin. This should be a piece of cake for most of you, right? You've seen this idea. King d8. Pretty easy idea in the Nimzo. The king actually belongs on c7, where it's completely safe. And then we'll just have this h-pawn storm against the enemy king. And that's pretty much what happened. You may play b6 later. You don't have to play b6 at all. I don't like b6. Bishop d3. Yeah, mastering chess strategy comes handy. Yeah, you guys have seen this before. King c7. And guess what? Leela did not read any of those books, did not watch any of those videos. It just figures this out on its own because it's superior eval skills. And that's it. If castles h5, just total domination. In the game, f3 happened, knight b6, and black is better. Opening up the bishop, right? We have this common, no matter where you castle, the king is not safe. That's it, guys. That's it for today. You know, the lessons are pretty obvious. Learn how to evaluate better. Think outside the box. Don't automatic, some automatic moves are not the best moves, like that EF was a great idea we saw. And don't be afraid to execute long-term sacrifices, exchange or peace sacrifices. All right, any other questions for me? Again, I would refer you to, if you want to watch complete games, you can download all of these games, are publicly available from the archives. All right, thank you guys. Talk to you next time. Goodbye.